29 countries will let you keep every dollar you earn abroad, but the issue is 14 of them are places like Libya, the Congo, and Guinea-Bissau. Not exactly relocation candidates. The other 15 combine that same zero tax on foreign income with healthcare, working banks, and the kind of institutions that make a 20-year plan viable. In this video, IMI sorts all 15 into 4 categories, each with different planning implications. So by the end, you know exactly which one fits your situation. So, livability here is a practical filter. A country can exempt your foreign earnings completely and still be a terrible place to move your family, build a business, and live a high-quality lifestyle. We cut Libya, the DRC, Guinea-Bissau, Malawi, Eswatini, Bolivia, and 9 other countries because of one or more issues, be it security, banking access, healthcare infrastructure, or institutional quality. The 15 that made the cut break out into 4 groups. Before we get into the first category, one quick note. If this kind of breakdown is why you're here, subscribing is the only way we show up in your feed again. We publish analysis like this every single day. Pure Territorial. Okay, so these first 5 jurisdictions exempt foreign income without conditions in pure territorial setups. Spend it, remit it, bank it locally. It is outside the tax net either way. Panama. Panama taxes local employment and business income progressively up to 25%. Foreign income, however, faces zero taxation, even when deposited in a Panamanian bank or spent domestically. Capital gains on foreign assets escape tax entirely as well. The Qualified Investor Visa grants immediate permanent residency for an investment from $300,000 in real estate, securities, or fixed deposits. Citizenship could potentially follow after 5 years. The Friendly Nations visa changed in 2021. The price moved from $5,000 to a $200,000 real estate or deposit commitment, or a Panamanian employment sponsorship for those from 50 eligible friendly nations. Applicants receive 2-year temporary residency first, with permanent status available after that. Panama runs on the US dollar, has a large expat community in Panama City, and direct flights to most of North America and Europe. Healthcare quality and education options can be exceptional in the city, but vary dramatically outside of the region. Remaining in Central America, let's cover Costa Rica. The country's progressive employment tax hits 25%, business income worse at 30%, and local capital gains 15%. But foreign income is outside the base. Remote work for foreign clients while you're physically in Costa Rica typically qualifies as foreign source, provided you have no local customers or operations. The moment you deliver locally, though, the classification shifts. The Rentista visa and Investor visa are the 2 main entry points in Costa Rica. The Rentista requires a stable monthly income of $2,500 over 2 years. The Investor visa requires a real estate investment of at least $150,000, and you can find some qualifying properties on IMI Real Estate. Citizenship follows after 7 years of residency. Costa Rica has the region's best healthcare, a stable democracy with no standing military, and some of Latin America's highest peace and quality of life rankings. The trade-off is cost. Everyday expenses run well above Panama or Paraguay because Costa Rica has long been a hot destination for North Americans and Europeans. Paraguay. Good news, Paraguay applies a flat 10% on local income, and foreign earnings are exempt from local taxation. The residency framework has shifted considerably, though. The fastest route to immediate PR is now the Investor Pass program, offering 3 channels: $150,000 in tourism projects or $200,000 in either stock market or real estate investments, each granting direct permanent residency. Paraguay received over 47,000 residency applications in 2025, up from 28,000 the year before, with roughly 40,600 permits actually issued. While infrastructure lags regional rivals Costa Rica and Panama, Paraguay's low cost of living, minimal presence requirements, lax tax policy, and a 3-year path to citizenship explain the inflow. Hong Kong. Hong Kong taxes local employment under a dual-track system. You pay progressive rates from 2 to 17% or a two-tiered standard rate of 15% on the first 5 million Hong Kong dollars and 16% on the rest, whichever is lower. In practice, most high earners pay 15%. However, foreign income and capital gains both face zero tax when properly structured. Source of income doctrine drives classification. Authorities tax employment based on where you perform your duties, not where the employer is located. So a consultant working from a Hong Kong office for overseas clients is generating Hong Kong source income. The Capital Investment Entrant Scheme requires 30 million Hong Kong dollars in qualifying assets, at least 27 million in approved investments, including stocks, bonds, funds and insurance, plus 3 million in the CIES investment portfolio managed by the Hong Kong Investment Corporation. Permanent residency is available after 7 years of continuous ordinary residence. Political developments since 2020 have shifted the calculation for some high net worth individuals, though the tax framework is intact. So are the world-class banking, common law legal system and English fluency across professional services. Belize employment taxation reaches 25% progressively, and corporate income sits between 3 and 25%, but foreign income is fully exempt for participants in the Qualified Retirement Programme or QRP. Programme participants receive explicit zero treatment on all foreign source income, including offshore pensions, investment returns, and other foreign earnings. The programme targets applicants aged 40 and above with verifiable monthly foreign income. English is the official language. The legal system is British common law, and major US cities are short flights away. Territorial with carve-outs. So, now that we've covered the living territorial tax regimes, these two jurisdictions run similar systems but apply different source or deeming rules that demand careful structuring, particularly for remote workers. Georgia applies a flat 20% on Georgian source employment income. Business taxation ranges from 1 to 20% depending on the regime, and small business status caps tax at 1% of gross turnover for qualifying sole proprietors. Wait for it though, foreign income is tax exempt when properly classified as non-Georgian source. And this is critical. Work physically performed in Georgia generally becomes Georgian source regardless of the client's location or how payment flows. Digital nomads and remote consultants face particular exposure under standard interpretations. Investor visas tied to real estate or business investment grant short and long-term permits. Unconditional permanent residency is available after 6 years for investors who maintain physical presence at least 3/4 of each year during the qualifying period. Tbilisi's expat community has grown steadily since the 2020 launch of the Remotely from Georgia program. Healthcare is affordable but a little unpredictable. And finally, banking is surprisingly sophisticated for a country of 3.7 million. Seychelles. Progressive employment taxation in the Indian Ocean's picturesque archipelago of Seychelles reaches 30%. But foreign income generally registers zero when properly structured as non-Seychelles source. Authorities primarily tax income from employment earned within Seychelles borders. Independent contractor arrangements and remote work demand very careful sourcing analysis and structuring to qualify. Documentation matters as much as the underlying activity. The Investor Permanent Residence Program requires qualifying business investment. Again, you can find some qualifying properties on IMI Real Estate. But if you have long-term ambitions in Seychelles, know that citizenship is difficult to acquire even for long-term residents. Seychelles is at the intersection of African and Indian Ocean markets. English is widely spoken alongside French and Creole, and the country consistently ranks among Africa's top 3 for governance quality. Day-to-day costs are high, and complex medical cases often involve travel to Mauritius or even to South Africa. Remittance-based. Territorial and carve-out systems now covered, let's now discuss remittance-based systems that you'd actually consider relocating to. Rules across these categories change constantly. Uruguay rewrote its in January, Thailand in 2024. Subscribing, by the way, is how you catch our next video the moment a rule moves. 6 jurisdictions in this category tax foreign income only when you receive or remit it to the jurisdiction in question. Timing, characterization, and documentation drive planning. Singapore taxes employment and business income progressively up to 24%, and foreign income faces the same tax rates, but only when received in Singapore. Capital gains generally register zero, though Section 10L rules introduced in 2024 capture certain foreign disposal gains without dismantling the core remittance framework. Authorities tax funds received into Singapore bank accounts regardless of when the underlying income was earned. The Global Investor Programme has 3 investment tiers: 10 million Singapore dollars in a new or existing Singapore business, 25 million in a GIP Select Fund, or 200 million in assets under management for family office principals, with 50 million deployed into qualifying local investments. Re-entry permit renewal under the business investment route is tied to substance, so your company must employ at least 30 staff, at least half being Singapore citizens, with at least 10 incremental hires. The applicant or all dependents must reside in Singapore for more than half the qualifying period. A 3-year renewal can be granted on either the employment or the residence criterion alone. A 5-year renewal, on the other hand, requires both. Malta's progressive employment brackets reach 35%, which surprises most investors. But under the country's popular non-dom regime, foreign income faces Maltese tax only when remitted. Foreign capital gains are exempt even on remittance when properly structured. The Global Residence Programme, the most common path for non-EU nationals, applies a flat 15% rate to foreign income remitted to Malta, subject to a €15,000 minimum annual tax covering the beneficiary and all registered dependents. For those seeking permanent residency rather than tax regime status alone, the Malta Permanent Residence Programme grants permanent residency from day one. After the July 2025 fee restructuring, the more popular property lease route requires a €60,000 government administrative fee, a €37,000 government contribution, a €2,000 NGO donation, and a 5-year home rental commitment of at least €14,000 per year. While it can vary on a few key X factors, total minimum cost via the rental route lands around €169,000 over 5 years for the main applicant. Ireland. Irish residents who hold non-Irish domicile can apply the remittance basis to foreign income and gains, which is outside Irish taxation until transferred to the country. In a break from traditional tax regimes in Europe, Ireland imposes no time limit on non-domicile status and no annual access charge, unlike the UK's former non-dom regime, which applied £30,000 or £60,000 annual fees and deemed domicile rules after 15 years. The Irish framework can be used indefinitely, provided the individual maintains genuine ties to their country of domicile. Once remitted, foreign income faces progressive rates up to 52% after universal social charge and social insurance contributions are layered in, and remitted capital gains face 33%. Ireland's Immigrant Investor Programme closed to new applications in 2023, so no direct investment residency route currently exists. Entry runs through employment permits, the Stamp Zero Retirement Programme, the Startup Entrepreneur Programme, or EU treaty rights. The UK's 2025 abolition of its own non-dom regime has driven interest to Dublin as an alternative base for many global investors. Mauritius. Indian Ocean island nation Mauritius applies a flat 15% on employment income. Foreign income faces the same flat rate only when received in Mauritius, and capital gains are exempt, among the lowest remittance-based rates globally. The permanent residency permit requires real estate investment starting at $375,000 and is one of the few programs in its category and region that grants immediate permanent residency. Standard naturalization follows the 7-year continuous residency requirement, or 5 years for Commonwealth citizens. Applicants who invest at least $500,000 qualify for fast-track naturalization after 2 years, subject to a bit stricter physical presence requirements. English-speaking institutions, a Westminster-style democracy, functional banking, and optimal geography for the right investor between Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. Gibraltar. Gibraltar's Category 2 individual status caps total annual tax liability at £42,380, regardless of worldwide income. Authorities tax only the first £118,000 of assessable income, with a minimum annual tax of £37,000. Foreign income and capital gains both effectively register zero for qualifying residents. The cap produces remittance-like outcomes through a different mechanism. Effectively, your tax ceiling is fixed regardless of how much foreign income you earn, move, or spend. The Category 2 HNWI residency program requires a minimum net worth, a qualifying property purchase or lease, and annual fees. British Overseas Territory status delivers UK proximity without UK tax treatment. English is the working language. The legal system follows English common law, and Spain is a 20-minute drive away. Small size, housing constraints, and limited schooling options make Gibraltar a base for specific profiles, not broad market relocation. Thailand's remittance system restructured in 2024. Now foreign income remitted by tax residents is taxable at standard progressive rates up to 35% the year it's transferred. Standard tax residency triggers at 180 days of physical presence in any calendar year. Retirement visa holders, Thailand privilege card holders, and digital nomads on standard tourist pathways all fall under the revised rules once they cross that threshold. The long-term resident visa, launched in 2022 and refined through 2025, preserves full foreign income exemption for wealthy global citizen and wealthy pensioner categories. The wealthy pensioner track, for example, requires applicants aged 50 or older with $80,000 annual passive income or $40,000 to $80,000 paired with a $250,000 qualifying investment. The 2024 changes made visa category selection and timing the most important planning decisions for high net worth individuals relocating onto Thailand. Holiday structures. Now to the final category of livable territorial tax havens. 2 jurisdictions have defined exemption periods on foreign income before partial taxation begins. Both function as effectively territorial for medium-term planning horizons. Uruguay rewrote its tax holiday rules this year with Ley 20446. New residents can still access a holiday on foreign source income for up to 11 years, but qualifying got substantially more expensive. 3 qualifying paths exist: physical presence exceeding 183 days annually with no investment threshold, real estate investment of approximately $2 million, up from the threshold of $590,000, or approximately $100,000 annually for up to 11 years in a government-backed innovation fund. After the holiday expires, most categories of foreign-sourced capital income, including dividends, interest, capital gains, and foreign rental income, face a 12% rate. Consulting and employment income from foreign sources typically remain exempt post-holiday. Residents who acquired Uruguayan tax residency under pre-2026 rules are explicitly grandfathered and keep their original exemption for its full duration. Montevideo consistently ranks among the most livable, yet maybe not as active. Cities in Latin America and the banking and tax sectors have earned the country its Switzerland of the South America reputation. Dominican Republic. Dominican progressive employment brackets reach 25% and capital gains up to 27%, but foreign income often registers zero tax during early residency years under the country's semi-territorial framework. Foreign financial income from investments and securities become taxable after 3 years of residency for standard residents. That 3-year threshold creates a planning window worth explicit attention, particularly for those drawing large dividend or interest income from offshore portfolios. The investor visa provides immediate permanent residency through real estate investment, business establishment, or fixed-term deposits. Expedited citizenship pathways reduce the standard 7-year naturalization timeline for qualifying investors to qualification after just 2 years. The Dominican Republic combines the Caribbean's largest economy, Latin America's fastest growing market, direct flights to major US cities, functional banking, and an established expat community concentrated in Santo Domingo, Punta Cana, and Las Terrenas. How to choose. The livability filter applied here is editorial, of course, not statutory. 14 other territorial jurisdictions exist, from Libya to Eswatini to Bolivia, where the tax framework may be favourable, but the practical infrastructure, security, or institutional stability falls short in our opinion. For those building a multi-jurisdiction strategy, mixing categories often works better than committing to one. A Paraguay residency for cost-free entry, a Malta Global Residence Programme for EU access, and a Thailand LTR for Asian lifestyle coverage can coexist inside a single plan, provided physical presence requirements across jurisdictions are managed. Picking the right program is only half of it. If you're looking specifically at Europe, we have a video ranking the 13 low tax regimes hiding inside high tax Europe. That's the video on your screen right now. And if you're not subscribed yet, this is the only place on YouTube where the analysis is this specific. Fix that while you're here. Thanks for watching.